Hey everyone, Adam and Tim here to give you your weekly fishing report. We've got some pretty good fishing going on right now, so let's get right into it. I think we'll start off with perch today. I know that's what a lot of people are looking to do. You want to tell us a little bit about perch, Timmy?
Yeah, for sure. So we're kind of at the tail end of the yellow perch spawn in most of the tributaries around here. There are still people catching them for sure, but we're starting to get into the time of year where it's going to mostly be white perch up there. And to catch those, really nothing different than what we've been doing all spring, throwing tandems with little light plastics like these bustums right here. This is a tandem rig we tie here in store for you guys. You can also fish, plastics under floats. Like here I got these stingers by Z-Man. You can suspend them under a little slip bobber like this and just slowly work them across, across shallow water structures like logs, blowdowns, that kind of thing. And hopefully get into some white perch, yellow perch, and maybe even some crappie, which that bite's been getting good too. They're definitely on the pre-spawn, starting to push up to areas where they're going to be bedding, and they are hungry. So it's a great time of year to go get a mixed bag of Chesapeake panfish right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And touching on crappie for a sec, they, as Tim said, they are starting to push up shallow as they prepare for their spawn. The females are not quite there yet. It's mostly males right now, and generally the females are going to be bigger. So you might have to weed through a good number of fish to get some eater size, but the numbers are there for sure. Minnow under a bobber for crappie is pretty hard to beat, but you can also do little finesse plastics, like Tim was saying, stuff like this. Under a bobber, you could do float and fly under a bobber. I would stay away from moving baits right now. The water's still a little cold, so I wouldn't really throw a spinner. I haven't had success doing that recently for crappie, so I would say minnows and your little finesse plastics under a bobber on a really light jig head that you can work nice and slow. They are going to be up shallow, and they're going to be relating to wood structure. Laydowns are a really good place to find crappie this time of year. In the places where you are fishing for crappie, you might also find some largemouth bass. They are also sort of kicking into that pre-spawn mode as the water temperature kind of approaches your mid-40s, even low 50s in some places. And they're hungry right now. They're feeding up after the cold winter. You can fish for them in your mill ponds, some of the upper reaches on both the east and the west side of your tidal rivers and creeks, and your neighborhood ponds, reservoirs, things like that. Something that can be really good to throw at largemouth, and that actually did pretty good at the recent Bassmaster. A lot of guys were catching fish on minnow baits. I'm sure if you guys follow bass fishing, you've heard about these Z-Man scented jerk shads. This sight flash color is a really natural presentation. You fish it a little differently than you would a straight tail like this. If you fish it, you fish it differently than you would if you were fishing a straight tail for rockfish and jigging. You would kind of want to put these on a pretty light jig head, reel them in really slow, and just give them nice, subtle little wiggles. So it looks like a little bait fish sort of suspended in the water column. Some other stuff on the freshwater, tidal freshwater side of things would be pickerel. You want to talk about that a little bit, Timmy?
Yeah, for sure. So as water continues to warm up, the pickerel will continue to start feeding heavier, and they're going to start hitting moving baits a little better, like these spinners here. We got a 3/8 ounce spinner bag by Captain Bert, the redfish wrecker. Jerk baits also work great. You can still throw minnows under a bobber and do pretty well if you'd rather go out with some live bait. But yeah, just look for docks, look for grass lines, frag lines, and just try to find the warmest water you can find. Even a degree or two can make a difference.
For sure. And contrary to your panfish right now, you do kind of want to blade when you're fishing for pickerel right now. They are going to be definitely hungry. Like I said, those water temps are warming up. And those pickerel are going to be a little bit more eager to feed than they would have been maybe a month or two ago. So that flashy, vibrating blade can really fire them up and get them chewing. As far as some other stuff goes, rockfish, the bite is still pretty tough. There's plenty of fish up shallow, but they have not been eating as well as a lot of us would like. There are fish stacked up on the channel ledges. They're staging right now basically to go head up the rivers and spawn. You cannot fish the rivers right now, so if you are looking around the main stem of the bay, you can check some points with some riprap that relate to a flat, or you can check your channel edges and see if you mark bait or fish. When they're up shallow, I really like a diving plug. These X-Wraps are really, really great. I like this bunker color, especially in the little bit of clearer water that we have right now. It's just kind of a nice natural presentation there. It would be good to consider on some of these diving plugs switching to single hooks. Again, these fish are staging to spawn, so we want to make sure we're not hurting them too bad so that we can preserve the future of our striped bass population. Other place you can catch stripers right now actually is going to be in the back bays of Ocean City on the coast. I've heard of some being pulled off of the 50 bridge, so you can go out there with, again, a diving plug. Probably want a deeper diving plug though if you're fishing the bridge and you just kind of want to swing it out in the current, or a really heavy jig, or some cut bunker or things like that. As far as some other stuff going on the coast, you want to touch on that, Timmy?
Yeah, for sure. So tog bite's been starting to heat up on some of the offshore wrecks off Ocean City and Chincoteague. You can just employ little high-low rigs like these. We tie these in store. For baits, green crabs are good if you can find them. Sand fleas and peeler crabs will also work well. We've also started hearing people catching flounder in the last week or so.
Yeah, first couple flounder, yep.
And to target those, I would look around your inlets. Of course, they got to come in and out of the inlets to hit the back bays, and then try to shoot for the warmest water you can find, which is usually going to be shallow water on mud. And to catch those flounder, you can use a variety of soft plastics. Gulp is a classic one that is tried and true over the years. White and chartreuse are great. You can just throw these on a single jig head. You can fish them with a little fly teaser above them. Super versatile, but there's something about the scent that they love. And if you're fishing normal plastics, it doesn't hurt to put a little Procure on it too.
Definitely.
But yeah, just look fish channel edges. If you can find points with good water flowing on top of it, they'll often stage on the down current side. And like I said, just try to find the warmest water that you possibly can.
For sure, for sure. And then some other stuff that we're not quite there yet, but I did want to touch on, is going to be your shad run. That should be really any day now. I guess we're approaching the end of March, so that should be kicking off any day now. Your tributaries of the Potomac, the Patuxent and your tributaries there. Some of your tributaries on the east side. The Susquehanna should see some shad as well. Something that I like to do during shad season, actually, when I'm done fishing for shad, is jigging for catfish. There's so many shad in these rivers where there's such a high population of blue cats and flathead catfish that they sort of key in on these big old shad. And they're much more willing to hit a moving bait like a lure, and you can actually go out there and jig for them, which can be really, really fun. I'm a big fan when I'm jigging for catfish of a curly tail. I like these Z-Mans because they have like that really nice fat body in them, sort of, in the water, a little bit bigger profile. Those, if you guys know what a shad looks like, it's got a pretty wide body. And the curly tail I like better than a paddle tail when you're fishing for these catfish, because a lot of the time you're fishing in decently heavy current, so you would need a heavier jig head to get your paddle tail down versus the curly tail, because the paddle tail creates a bit more resistance. But I would say once you guys start seeing shad, you can go out there and start jigging for catfish. The rockfish are hard to catch right now, and you want to feel a big thump and a big old bend in your rod. Jigging for catfish can be a really fun way to go do that. But as far as our fishing report for this week goes, that is about it, guys. Feel free, if there's anything that we didn't touch on or anything else that you guys want to hear about, just give us a shout. You can comment, send us a message, whatever. We're here for you guys. But I think that about does it, and we'll see you next time.